Hey everybody, today I'm sharing with you my first experiment with freezer cooking. Now I have done in the past small batch freezer cooking where, if I'm making dinner and I just double the recipe, put the extras in the freezer for another meal. I've done that many times and that's always been very successful, but I've never done what people call large batch freezer cooking, where you take several hours and dedicate it to just making several different servings of several different things that you can then put in the freezer and then have for whenever you need them. So I invited my sister to come for the afternoon and help me with a session of large batch freezer cooking, and I'm glad that I did for several reasons. It was very successful, and I'll just give you quickly a couple reasons why it was, and then I'll get into the footage. I did like a vlog style of while we were cooking so you could see the progress and how we did things, how we laid it out and all that. So it took us just right at 2 hours, kitty cameo, to do all this cooking, and a lot of that was because my sister and I are very familiar with each other, of course, so it wasn't like we were strangers in a stranger's kitchen. She knows where everything is, so it was easy for us to just work together kind of in tandem quickly, so that did help. So if you're doing this on your own or with other people that you're not as familiar with, it might take a little bit longer, and that's okay, but if you do have someone that you're very familiar with, this is a great thing to do with an afternoon. So first of all, we use simple recipes. You'll see that we didn't do things that even really required a recipe. We just did things that we've made many times before that had simple ingredients and that didn't have a lot of preparation steps. Second of all, we used overlapping ingredients. So we had ground beef and pasta sauce that were in 2 different recipes. And that made it really easy just to have all those things prepped. We cooked the ground beef at once and then we're able to split it for the 2 different recipes. That was a really great thing that we did. Number 3, we didn't try to do too much. We actually had a larger list of meals that we were hoping to make, and then we cut out actually 2 of the things we were thinking about doing because it just would have taken too much time, and we didn't want to be worn out because then we had to make dinner that night as well. So we didn't overwhelm ourselves with what we were doing. And then the 4th thing is we thought through our game plan. So before we started cooking, we looked at the different recipes. We talked about who was going to do what. We decided it was easier for each of us to take our own recipe, and so I did some things and Allie did other things, and then we just kind of took turns jumping in to do cleanup as we were going. So we thought through how we were going to do that and made sure before we started we had all the ingredients, that we were clear on how we were going to make things. Because we were splitting the food, I wanted to make sure that she and I were clear on how things were going to be put together, as far as being able to cook them later when we were going to eat them, and having ingredients that both our families enjoyed and that kind of thing. And then we did clean as we went. That's another thing that really made it simple. So that's number 5, is we cleaned as we went. We just, every time that one of us had a minute, if we were waiting on something in the oven or waiting on something to cook, we would just go to the sink and wash the dishes so that everything stayed clean and we didn't have a kitchen full of dirty dishes at the end of the time. So if you're doing this with other people, you can, I think the easiest way to do it is to have one person do the meal planning and the shopping. So I went and bought all the ingredients, and then after we had cooked everything and had decided how much all the ingredients that we used, then I was able to easily figure out how much it cost. Then we can just split the cost, and then one person just pays for their however much they took home with them. So if you're doing this in a large group, I would suggest that just one person does all the shopping so that they know how much they spent, and it's always good if that person is a frugal person so that you're also saving money while you're saving time. So I hope this was helpful for you. I hope you enjoy watching the footage. You can just see kind of how we went through it. It did take us just right at 2 hours to make all these things, which I think was really successful. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy.
All right, here's our game plan. We're going to try to make chicken enchiladas, a baked pasta, Italian beef cups, and then if we have time, egg cups and pumpkin muffins. This is from a sticker that was already on the package. I didn't get my paper dirty, just wanted you to know that. Okay, so I listed out all the ingredients we need for each of the recipes, and then I have laid out most of the stuff over here. So I've got cheese and the pasta and spaghetti sauce. This is canned biscuits, chilies, and the tomatoes for the enchiladas, tortillas, and then I went ahead and pulled out, I have one of these little foil pans, and then my freezer bag's ready to go. Everything's set out there. Over here I've defrosted the meat, so we've got 2 pounds of ground beef, I have a chicken breast, and then I already had some roasted chicken ready to go over here that I defrosted as well. I started with a clean sink. I have an empty dish drainer and an empty sink. This is for the barbecue beef cups. I have a can of biscuits that we just split in half and put in the greased muffin tins, and then over here cooked up a couple pounds of ground beef, and we drained it, and then we've got paper towels on it to keep the grease, kind of sop out some of the grease. Pasta is boiling, and then the chicken is being cooked for the chicken enchiladas. So this is just canned biscuits, ground beef with a little spaghetti sauce, not very much, just enough to coat it, and then some cheese. Oh, and I put Italian seasoning in there as well. I'll bake these for about 8 to 10 minutes until the biscuits are brown. 45 minutes into our session, and we have 1 chicken enchilada casserole right here. We've got 2 bags of pasta casserole ready to go in the freezer. I just dated them, so it's just penne pasta, hamburger meat, ground beef, whatever you want to call it, ragu, and some cheese, and a little bit of Italian seasoning mixed together. Everything's cooked, then all I have to do is just dump that into a pan and bake it. And over here I have the beef cups all ready to go. They're just cooling, and then we'll put those in freezer bags. And I've been cleaning up as I've gone. I'm going to stop now and wash all these dishes so we don't get overwhelmed with dishes. And here's the assembly process for the other chicken enchilada casserole. Under an hour of work with 2 people cooking pretty quickly at the same time. We did pretty simple recipes. We have 2 chicken enchilada casseroles, pasta casserole, and 16 beef cups all done. Dishes are clean, washed, and that is pretty successful. One last recipe. These will all be linked in the blog post. So if you want to find the recipes, you can find that in my blog post, which is linked down below the video. These are egg cups. They have eggs and ham and vegetables and stuff in them. They're really good for breakfast. So these are done. I'm going to put them on the cooling rack and then put them in the freezer, and we will be done.